I nearly died. That hangover I was experiencing was stroke symptoms. Stroke symptoms that would get dramatically worse over the next 2 hours.
Did yet another carnivore influencer give up the carnivore diet? Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Westman, and welcome to my channel where I review and debunk nutritional misinformation online. In this video, I was wrong about carnivore. Here's why. We're going to learn about the carnivore diet and some of the emotional and other reactions people give to it. And then, spoiler alert, actually he doesn't stop doing carnivore at the end. We'll see why. Before we dive into today's video, I want to invite you to take keto nutritionist Amy Berger's free masterclass, The Secrets to Breaking Keto Fat Loss Stalls. If you're doing all the right things but stubborn weight still won't budge, then Amy's masterclass is for you. See the link in the description to sign up.
I was wrong about carnivore. October 18 was a normal day, but somewhere between 10:30 p.m. and 6 a.m. the next day, I nearly died. Now, I promise I'll get back to this story in a moment, but before I do, I have a confession to make. I used to make my wife very, very angry. And I'm going to tell you why. When we first moved in together, we would come home from work and we'd be making dinner or watching a movie, and she would turn to me and say, "I had this problem at work today." Now, I'm the kind of person, when someone comes to me with a problem, I mentally drop everything and instantly go into solution mode. So my wife would turn to me and say, "I had this problem at work today." I would think about it for a second, and then I would say, "You should do this." And she would get very angry with me. And I could never understand this. Why are you getting so angry? You gave me a problem. I gave you a solution. It's finished. Let's move on. Let's talk about something else. Let's finish watching the movie.
Has this happened to you where someone just wants to be heard and you don't have to come up with a solution? I guess so. If you're following a carnivore diet or low carb keto diet or a diet that someone else is curious about, you don't always have to fix what they're doing. And in this case, the relationship is really just one of listening, not having to fix things for your spouse or your friend, even though the urge there is at first when you're doing carnivore or a low carb keto diet, you want to fix everyone else and tell everyone what you're doing. My recommendation is to just wait and lead by example.
You see a guy walking past you on the street, scratching some eczema on the back of his neck. You want to run up to him and say, "Hey, mate, I've got the answer for you. Just eat a steak. Thank me later." So you've got a friend that comes around to visit you, hasn't seen you for like 6 months, 12 months, something like that. They knock at the door, you open it. "G'day, how you doing?" And they're like, "You look amazing. What did you do?" And you're like, "Been waiting for this. I'm on the carnivore diet." And you wait for questions. And you want all the questions, all the active listening, all the emotional intelligence. Nothing.
Yes, so what a great dramatization of now learning that there is not the same sort of empathy and interest when it comes to a carnivore diet. It's fascinating.
And I've been carnivore now for coming up on 2.5 years, and the changes that have happened have been absolutely amazing, similar to what many people experience. Weight loss, more energy, better sleep, clearer skin, clearer thinking, less anxiety. It's been amazing. But the thing that just tops it all is the arthritis in my left knee just vanished. And this was such a big thing for me because the arthritis had become such a part of my day-to-day life. It was just like this exhausting cloud always over me. And I was walking a minimum of an hour a day from home to the train station to work and back again. And it was just exhausting. And I live in Japan. And in Japan, there are lots of stairs. And it's constantly up and down and up and down and up and down. And if there's anything a person with arthritis hates more than walking, it's climbing. And so it was just exhausting. So I'd be exhausted by the time I get to work. do a day's work, be exhausted from that, then get home and be exhausted from traveling home. And I'd just be in front of the TV or the computer like a zombie.
Well, so he's explaining what we call an NSV, or a non-scale victory. Let me know if you have any non-scale victories, the joint pain going away, all of these other things beyond just weight change. And this is not unusual, I have to say. A lot of people are telling me, even after they've done keto for a while, that they have switched to more carnivore without the vegetables, and they have seen benefits, either stomach benefits, although most stomach issues go away even if you're having a little bit of vegetables and leafy greens, which is the way I teach it. But I have seen some people get off weight loss stalls. I don't quite understand why that might be, but again, mixing it up a little bit if you're not getting results, I think is a fine thing to do within certain limitations. But the idea that joint pains get better is something I hear in the clinic very frequently. And so let me know if you've had any NSVs, non-scale victories, in the chats below.
When I eat a carnivore style diet, I can maintain a healthy weight, or I can get closer to it. When I eat a carnivore style diet, I feel better. When I eat a carnivore style diet, I reverse my chronic illnesses, or I can manage them better.
You know, it is a grassroots change that's happening. I remember 25 years ago when I first started studying the Atkins diet, the diet that Dr. Atkins put together and used in his clinic and in diet books. I went to the internet. Yeah, there was an internet then, back in 2000-ish, but it was not like today. But you could even put together a group of people with pre-post pictures about how the diet could help people lose weight. So when we embarked on our studies, to me it wasn't a matter of people could lose weight on an Atkins or low carb or carnivore or keto style diet. It was, was it safe? And so that is the kind of the 20-year perspective I have now, that there is safety when you don't eat carbohydrates, if you have enough protein and enough nutrition in the foods that don't contain carbohydrates. But so now we're going past just obesity treatment. Let's see what this style diet does for other health issues. Now, I've seen it in my clinic, and I can just give the validation that I've seen these changes in not just this influencer talking about them, but also in my clinic.
I was 300 pounds with type 2 diabetes, depression, GERD, and no off switch. Carnivore gave me back hope. My stage 4 cancer is controlled with carnivore, and it is reversing the damage done by chemo. My autistic meltdowns went away once I started carnivore. Fibromyalgia disappeared 2 days after starting carnivore.
You have to remember, if you say started carnivore, it's not just that the foods that you are eating are animal-based. It's also a matter of eliminating the foods that may have been causing the disease in the first place. So a carnivore diet or a low-carb keto diet, it's an elimination diet. It eliminates many of the bad things that are causing health problems. In a recent video and clinic visit that I had, there was someone who reversed their anemia from gluten enteropathy, I think. It was never really diagnosed, but so when she went carnivore, what happened is she eliminated all gluten from the diet. So it could be, if you have symptoms from gluten enteropathy, or celiac disease is the other term. In other words, it's wheat, which mainly contains the gluten. You may have a problem that goes away, not because that you started eating the animal products, it's because you're no longer having the gluten that was causing the problem in the first place. And it's not easy to diagnose these things. There are probably many different things that the current set of foods that people typically eat are causing that we haven't diagnosed the problem yet, but you eliminate them and start eating a healthy pattern, these medical issues can actually go away. And most doctors just aren't in tune. They just don't ask enough about what you're eating and drinking. They would rather diagnose you and give you medications. I'm afraid that's the current state of affairs in our medical system. So I've seen all of these things reverse on a carnivore-ish type diet, which is what I teach, where some people will eat up to 2 cups of greens and 1 cup of a non-starchy vegetable a day, but mainly meat, poultry, fish, and shellfish and eggs, and all of these things get better as well.
So many stories like these. Now, I'm not a doctor, but when you have 850 people all saying the same kind of thing, I'm maintaining a healthy weight, I feel better, my chronic illnesses are going away, it means something.
You know, I think he's spot on in that there's no question there is a signal that a carnivore diet or low carb, carnivore-ish type diet can work. And what we're seeing here, the grassroots changes, is the people who have the good benefits and can stay on it, have all of these benefits. What's missing without formal research is the idea of how many people get better. Let's say what percentage of people get better. Let's say you had 100 people and only one person was able to do a carnivore diet. You would hear an influence like this would get that 1 out of 100. We don't know what would happen to the others. My sense is it's more like 7 out of 10 do just fine on a carnivore diet if they figure out how to do it and improve these. It's a pretty high percentage. But so formal research can give us a better idea of what happens to all these people who start a program like this. So what we're seeing is, from the grassroots view, these are people who figured out how to do it in their own life. They didn't need lots of education or be in a research study to learn from the academic world. They got the idea of what to do and they did it. So I think formal research is needed to be able to be sure there aren't any things that might be harmful, sort of like we did 25 years ago with low carb, with a little bit of vegetables every day. The formal research on a carnivore diet should be done. I think there's a strong signal of all of these health benefits, and I'm not worried about any huge problem, but I don't know if there's a small problem, and I want to know the safety margin before I recommend it to everybody, and or to give an estimate of what can you expect on it. So it's interesting to see this fellow go from a keto, I don't know what kind of keto diet he was following, who taught him, but our version of low carb keto diet is an old version. It's not internet keto of products and oils and all, it's real food. But to have him make those changes and get improvement is fascinating. It's very interesting to me. And so I don't enforce that people have vegetables and leafy greens every day. When I heard what he was doing, he said he was having non-starchy vegetables at every meal. I don't think that's necessary, even if you do a low carb kind of diet with vegetables. You could have it once a day or even less than once a day and still be having some vegetable matter. So, but remember, it's an elimination diet, and you might be getting improvement not because something special in this food, but it's because you're not having a food that was causing an undiagnosed problem in the first place.
And that hangover I was experiencing was stroke symptoms. Stroke symptoms that would get dramatically worse over the next 2 hours. So much so, I would lose control of the right side of my body. So I found myself at a local doctor. By the time I got to the doctor, the right side of my face had stopped working, and I was talking out the left side of my mouth.
So remember, he said this happened in 1992. That went by pretty fast. And I'm afraid the whole idea of he was wrong about carnivore and the clickbait kind of thing is that it ended up that he didn't have a stroke on a carnivore diet. This was years ago with an arterial aneurysm. But it does hold your interest the first time you watch this to, I wonder what happened. Well, the dramatic thing that happened to him was actually years ago.
The doctor did a thorough examination. He was looking in my eyes with the light, he was smacking my knees with a hammer, he was doing all the bits. And after his thorough examination, he announces, I likely have gastroenteritis. Now, even as a 17-year-old who had just had a stroke, I was pretty sure that what I was suffering from right now was not gastroenteritis. I have had a weaker right side. My arm is weaker, my reaction time is much slower, I have a weaker right leg, and I limp. And not long after starting carnivore, things started to improve.
You know, I've heard so many stories of things improving, but I don't know that I've ever heard of someone who had residual stroke problems improving, years later. But the science and the theory is there potentially, that the ketones are special fuels and the brain loves ketones, can run on them just fine, just about all the brain, not all of it. But this is fascinating to think that a nerve damage issue that happened years ago might actually get better. There's some research going on now about traumatic brain injuries, TBI, especially if related to injury in the war. A war, for example, a bomb or a device that goes off. So this is getting intriguing.
My assumption about it couldn't have been further from the truth because it helps people with so many aspects of their lives. So many aspects of their lives that have been derailed by chronic disease. They start to get back on track. And I think the key is that when you eat carnivore, your body gets everything it needs and nothing that it doesn't need.
Yeah, there's no substitute from hearing from somebody whose life has been changed by something as simple as a diet change. I hear that in my office all the time, and thank you for letting me know, if you're one of my patients, about the changes that have happened. And just remember, there are a lot of different diets that can have improvements, and this one is, though, particularly simple because you don't have to worry about what you're having tomorrow. It's meat. So, someone came to me recently and said, well, that's so boring. I looked down at the list of foods, and every day it was oatmeal the person was eating. And so I said, is having oatmeal every day boring? And they kind of said, oh, well, right. So no, it's not. If you like the food, and especially if medical problems get better, and changing the nutrition, changing the diet can be extremely powerful. In fact, it's so unbelievable, people won't believe it. So thanks again to No Carb Life for an interesting video. And he's not just talking about himself, he's talking about a lot of the people he's interviewed through the years on why they're staying carnivore and not leaving the carnivore diet. I hope that's helpful. If you like, please like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and look for new content twice a week now. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and check out adaptyourlifeacademy.com.